Yeah, Steph got injured late in the game.
Yeah.
And Golden State seemed to basically throw in the towel.
Yeah.
And with Game 4 on Friday and no time to rest up or anything, could go down 3-1.
Yeah.
Are the Warriors done?
If Steph is seriously injured, the Warriors are done. I don't think he's injured. It's seriously injured. He might be banged up. Now, I know the rules with Steph Curry. It's what they've always been. He's either awesome or injured.
Right.
He's never bad. However, this is worth noting. I think the Celtics are going to win the title. I think the Celtics are going to win. I think they're going to go up 3-1. I said when I switched my pick, I said I thought they were going to win both games in Boston. I put a nice little hefty wager on the Celtics last night.
Yeah.
Feel good about that. Here's the thing on Steph. And part of this is on Steve Kerr. But Steph in game 1 had that unbelievable first quarter. Steve Kerr then stuck with his rotation, sat him to start the second quarter, totally cooled off, had 14 points the rest of the way, or 13 points the rest of the way. Steph, last night, is having this unbelievable third quarter. And this isn't a second guess. This is a first guess because I tweeted about it. Kerr typically plays him the whole third, rest in the beginning of the fourth. He wanted to be able to play him the whole fourth. So he sat Steph with 2.5 minutes left in the third, and it ruined the game for the Warriors. It went from 85-83 Boston to the rest of the way. The Celtics outscored them 31-17. The Warriors scored 11 fourth quarter points, and Steph had 2 points the rest of the game, which brings me to this point. Steph Curry has 6 points in the fourth quarter of these finals. I'm going to say that again. Steph Curry has 6 points in the fourth quarter of these finals. He has hit 0 fourth quarter threes. He is 3 of 10 from the field. He had 3 turnovers start the fourth quarter yesterday. Now, to be fair to Steph, one of the 3 fourth quarters he didn't play because they were winning by so much.
Right.
But game 1, they have a lead going into the fourth. Steph was bad. Game 3, it's a game going into the fourth. Steph was bad. And people always say, Nick, everything's not about LeBron. That's true. However, if there is anybody in the league that should be held to the standard of LeBron, it's Steph, who the whole world has been telling me the last month, one of the 10 greatest players ever. Yeah, I mean, make your top 10. You got him ahead of Shaq. You got him ahead of it. Okay. It is brought up to this day that LeBron James had a 2-point fourth quarter in the finals 11 years ago. It's the JJ Barea game. It's the meltdown against the Mavs. It's LeBron's lowest moment. 11 years later, it's brought up. We are 12 hours removed from this game ending last night. And I don't think anybody other than me is pointing out that Steph's been bad in these fourth quarters.
No, everybody else is pointing to the injury.
They're pointing to the injury, talking about Draymond, who we'll get to.
Nope.
But here's the other thing where Kerr's got some culpability. Steve Kerr, it's the NBA Finals. Your idea, I understand, is want to keep Steph fresh for the fourth quarter. Well, that ain't working. You're breaking his rhythm. He played 36 minutes last night.
But don't you think, like, in situations like that, Steph Curry, if he doesn't want to come out of the game,
that's not how he operates. And I know people say that, like, he could force it. He could, but that's not the way he operates. I don't blame him for that. Steph Curry doesn't have to play the whole 48, but he can play the entire second half. Yeah. In a game like last night, you're trailing big at the half. You have this massive fourth quarter. Let Steph keep rolling.
Right.
And he's trying to save him for the fourth quarter. It's not working.
It's not like Wiggins or anybody's having a big game. Like he's the go-to in that game.
And Clay was playing well, but Clay also I don't want to say fall apart, but his impact in the fourth quarter was minimal. Like the Warriors scored 11 fourth quarter points.
Yeah, that's wild.
It
was defense in basketball, man.
From the moment they took Steph out, which was 2:50 left in the third, to the end of the game, Golden State scored 17 points the rest of the way. That's brutal. All right, now let's talk about what I really want to talk about. Go ahead.
Fellow podcaster Draymond had a very weird night.
Yeah.
2 points, 6 fouls, and 100 arguments with the refs.
Mm-hmm.
Boston seemed unfazed despite his nonsense.
Yeah.
Is the best way to beat Draymond to just ignore him?
Well, you and I were talking about it that they weren't guarding him, and I still think they were guarding him too much. Yeah. I would disrespect him even more.
You actually released a lot of tweets about Draymond.
Well, I'm fired up about this.
Yes.
And maybe we have the tweets. So the first one was, Celtics got to be really careful here. The last thing they want is for Draymond to foul out. And I was serious about that. because I was worried Draymond would foul out early. The Warriors would go to Otto Porter. All of a sudden, their offense could work, and they would have stumbled upon something for Game 4 and beyond. But it went further than that. Then we talked about, I think, his stat line for the game. Said it before, and I'll say it again. Draymond has to act like a maniac to be effective against great teams at this point in his career. After his antics plus commentary in Game 2, he came out tonight and was subdued. The result, 2 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists with 2 turnovers and 6 fouls. Stay on this tweet for a moment. First of all, Draymond confirmed this after the game because he did a podcast last night. 3 in the morning, he posted his podcast, and he said in the podcast that he was in his own head about the stuff with the refs, that he wasn't playing with the force, he was worried about a technical. And he said this, which is, at this point in his career, he can't be effective without acting crazy. Jaylen Brown was driving past him at will. He doesn't score. And so, go ahead. You seem, we'll get to the other tweets in a moment. But
no, I just think Draymond is like.
You're so out on Draymond.
He's frying himself.
Frying himself.
It's so wild.
So, I think it's the worst finals game by a future Hall of Famer I've ever seen. You've got Micah Adams, who's a great follow on Twitter, and then we can get back to the other tweets, I think, said it's one of the least productive finals games by anyone ever. As far back as the data goes, there has never been a player in finals history to play as many minutes as Draymond did, foul out, and have fewer than 5 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. First time ever. But I think there's more tweets we can show. I'm not sure because I tweeted about a lot of these things. Because then even at the press conference, Draymond,
the podcast shout out thing?
Yes. So I wrote, at least my guy Colin Cowherd's getting his money's worth because he's on Colin's podcast network. Not sure about Joe Lacob. Joe Lacob's the owner of the Warriors. Yeah. We go on from there, which is Draymond. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You should only be allowed to bring your adorable children to celebratory press conferences. He brought his little kid to the press conference.
Yeah.
Which Steph started. He was
going to get ripped
Of
up.
course. Steph started that. LeBron's done it. JR's done it. A lot of guys have done it. In general, I like it, particularly because there's such a negative stigma with black fathers, an unfair one, and one we've talked about on the pod before. I like seeing the guys in a majority black league bring their kids. However, when you know that the reporters want to be able to ask you tough questions,
it's exploitation.
It feels a little bit like using your children as a shield.
Yeah.
Now, the day after the Chiefs lost to the Bengals, I started first things first with Deanna sitting on my lap as a kind of a joke about that.
Yeah.
The idea like, no, I'm going to use my child as a shield. But now let's talk about Draymond in the pot. Because Isaiah Thomas, the great Isaiah Thomas, ripped him after the game. So he's focused on the wrong things.
Yeah. You're in the finals, dude.
You're in the finals. And one of the reporters asked him about the podcast, and Draymond got pissed. And I tweeted about that too. Showed more fight arguing about the podcast than he did during the game. And the numbers are the numbers.
I don't know how his teammates aren't like. I feel like if I'm Steph Curry, I'm like, yo, get the hell off the podcast, man.
Dude.
Like
and it's Tom Haberstroh just put this out. Credit to Tom. As far as for Draymond for the series. This is Tom Haberstroh's tweet. Draymond Green has a true shooting percentage of 32.1%. The lowest of any player with at least 100 minutes in the first 3 games of the finals since the stats go back. From the 1984 finals to now, Draymond Green has the lowest true shooting percentage of any high-minute player that we've seen.
Yeah, man.
He has as many fouls as points. He has been... last night, Steph was very good until the 4th. Clay had his best game of the series. No Celtic went off. And the Warriors got blown out because Draymond was that bad. It's a huge problem for them. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button to get more from the show and make sure to click the bell to get notified every time new content drops. Check out full episodes of What's Right wherever you get your podcasts, or just click the link in the description below.